of Parsippany-Troy Hills Planning Board, Monday, March 20th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Didich.
Here.
Councilman DiPiero.
Here.
Mr. Mealy.
Here.
Mr. Matt.
Present.
Mr. Napolitano.
Here.
Mr. Stanziel.
Here.
Ms. Veely. Here. Mr. Von Aiken.
Here.
Chairman Dinsmore.
Here.
We also have our board planner, Ms. Steinley. We have our...
No, just the attorney.
Oh, that's the attorney? Oh, no,
Yep.
next, our
Not
board
that
attorney,
qualified.
Ms. Steinley, Ms. Winter, our board planner, and our board engineer, Mr. Canjiano.
All right, if we'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get to other things, I'm going to ask if we could sign in our newly appointed member of the planning board. Actually, I'd love to have you come up here so that you can stand in front of the audience and our attorney here can swear you in. And no, not from here. I can just keep it mine. It's okay.
So if you please raise your right hand. I state your name.
Read from that.
I, Jigar Shah,
Do solemnly swear or affirm,
you want me to read the whole
just
thing?
repeat after me.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
and the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
in the allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear or affirm
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of the office of
all the duties in office of
Planning Board Member Alternate Number 2,
Planning Board Member Alternate Number 2,
Township of Parsippany-Troy,
Township of Parsippany-Troy,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before, did they tell you to buy the donuts?
I can do that. I can do that. It's easy.
Before you leave tonight, we need you to sign this document right here. So, all right, very good. The next item on our agenda is to open the meeting to the general public. Is there anyone here that has any item that they wish to speak to this board on any subject that is not on our agenda tonight? Hearing and seeing none. All right. We have some correspondence. We have 3 cases that have asked for extensions of resolutions of approval. I would actually, because we have new members and others here who have not had to deal with extensions before, I'd like to have our attorney discuss how we grant its extensions and what rights the applicant has, et cetera.
Thank you. So under the municipal land use law, section 52, the board, an applicant is permitted to 3 one-year extensions of their approval. And typically those are granted 1 year at a time. A few of these have requested multiple years. That's okay. In the letters provided, the applicants have provided details on why there's been a delay. And I believe we have one of the applicant's attorneys here to explain. But the board is free to question the reasons why. But typically 1 year extensions are granted fairly freely, because, especially with considerations, with supply chain issues, COVID-19 delays, things like that.
All right, any questions on powers to extend, et cetera? We actually have some issues with two of the extensions that need to be discussed a little bit. But I'm going to ask if there's somebody willing to move that we allow the requested extension for the first extension from John Wishisala.
Gala. We have somebody here. He's not here tonight. We have a member from his firm here.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name is John Miller.
If you could just speak to the microphone, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Members of the board, again, my name is John Miller. I'm with the firm of Inglesino, Webster, Wichiscala, and Taylor. I'm filling in for John Wichiscala this evening.
Sure.
We represent Lidl U.S. operations, and we have submitted a letter to the board where we are requesting 2 one-year extensions of the approval that was granted by this board on March 22nd, 2021. The reason why we're asking for 2 one-year extensions is that my client, the applicant, purchased the property. It's the Food Town supermarket. And the purchase was made subject to an existing leasehold. And that lease expires, the current tenant has lease rights, and that lease expires in 2024, actually at the end of May of 2024. And since the property was purchased subject to that lease, we are prevented from proceeding to start construction. We have submitted our plans for resolution compliance. Those plans have been approved. We're really pretty much ready to go, except that we can't get in there. The current tenant has those rights to occupy the building until May 2024. Therefore, that's the reason why we're requesting 2 one-year extensions, which, as your board attorney said, as Ms. Steinle had said, is permitted under the Act. The 2 one-year extensions would carry the approvals to March 22 of 2025. That would pass the time that the lease would long expire before then. We're hoping maybe we might be able to get in a little bit before the lease expiration in May 2024. That's just an unknown at this time. Therefore, since we're really prevented from coming in and starting any construction, we respectfully request the 2 one-year extensions under the Act, under the MLU.
All right, anybody wish to discuss that? Anybody wish to move that extension?
I'll move it.
Seconded, Von Aiken.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Now, the next 2 extensions, correspondence received from Stephen Tumbalakian of Wiener Law Group in regard to application 20:520, 1 Campus Associates, 3 Campus Drive, Block 202, Lot 3.12, 1 Campus Drive, Block 202, Lot 3.7, 7 Campus Drive, Block 202, Lot 3.8, preliminary and final major site plan with C variance requesting a 2-year extension of resolution of approval. This one and the next one that I'm going to refer to both have to do with our affordable housing requirements. And these were approved with the understanding that this would meet the requirements of a lawsuit, I guess it was. Michael, if you could,
Yeah, under the affirmative action, these apartments that are allocated for low-income housing that are part of these 2 applications required court approval in order to move forward and meet our obligation for round 3 of affordable housing. So my question is, first of all, is there anybody here from Wiener at this? No. Okay. My question is, will this affect the court ruling, the court acceptance of those units? And I think Ed Sinakis is the only one, that we have on a retainer that could answer that question. So I would respectfully ask that we not approve these until we have an answer on whether this is going to affect our, affordable housing requirement.
Well, I'm going to ask that we discuss, I can see three possible choices here for us to do. The first is to not act tonight with the request to the applicant and frankly to Ed Sinakis that he give us some, an opinion on whether or not this affects our affordable housing requirements. Or conceivably, we could give them a one-year extension, which still leaves a lot of time, but still, it's effectively still asking for the
I would
same.
recommend that we table these to our next meeting and get the answers before we vote.
Do we have time with regard to tolling of the time required for the,
Yes, I believe so. The first request for application 2520 was approved June 7, 2021, had a 2-year time period.
so
we
we've got
still
till
have-
June 7th of
And then-
this year.
The second request for application 20:516, the resolution was adopted May 26, 2021. So we have a little bit of time on that one too.
All right, but not a lot.
No.
All right,
So we could get some answers before our next
that
meeting
makes sense.
and make an informed decision.
Actually, can I ask a
Gordon, you
question?
have-
So we're allowed to give 2 one-year extensions and 1-year approval, correct? Is that what I
We're
heard
allowed
earlier?
to give the applicant is permitted to, or is permitted to request 3 one-year extensions.
Okay, and when they get their approval, it's 1 year. All right.
Yes.
I just want, because it was 20, you just said those were 2021, that's why I was curious.
Oh, but when they get their approvals, they have 2 years. There's
Oh, they have 2 years?
Mhm.
Okay.
So none of these have come before the board asking for an extension.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, that makes sense.
All right, so you have a motion on the table.
Well, I think I can just say we're not gonna act on it tonight.
Okay, be that
I can be
way.
the dictator. I can be tonight's dictator.
Okay.
Can I ask a question also? Are we giving 2-year extension to start the project or finish the project?
It's usually to
On
start.
the application.
All right, because they're tearing that building down, a
It's
lot,
usually,
so
I'm told by our planner that it's usually start.
start. So, but they've started demolishing the buildings. Is that officially starting it, or you're talking about starting to build up?
No, demolition permits can be issued with no board approval whatsoever. So the construction department issues the demolition permits, and there's no prior approvals required for that. So if someone chooses to knock their building down and not submit, they can. These applications, I'm pretty sure, have zoning permits, so the time period for zoning has started already. So usually, that resolution date that gives so long, I'm pretty sure that I've issued the zoning permits for both of those, but they have not submitted to construction as of yet.
Fair question. So I'm just gonna table this at, Michael's suggestion, and,
The next meeting date.
we'll have our next meeting date. Now, Nora, we're gonna have to get in contact with Ed,
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
and ask him to give an opinion on this particular subject, because he is our affordable
Absolutely.
housing expert.
Will do.
I have an appointment with him tomorrow, so if that helps.
That works too.
You can expedite it.
There you go.
So do you want me to make a statement that those 2 are going to be carried?
We will consider them at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes, and you can correspond with the Wiener folks and say that we noticed a potential conflict and we wish to straighten it out before we took any
Okay, great.
action. All right. Next item is correspondence received from Wendy Berger of Cole Schultz in regard to application 20:508 LRF Halsey Logistics LLC, 60 East Halsey Road, Block 737, Lot 10. Granting preliminary and final major site plan with C variance requesting a 1-year extension of resolution from December 7th, 2022 to December 7th of 2023.
I'll move it.
You'll move that? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing and seeing none. We grant them their extension. All right, now, Nora suggested to me that we have a slightly different order tonight because of the speed of one of the applications. I believe you suggested that we should move forward with 23:503 Forge Hill Construction, 182 Fox Hill Road, Block 100, Spot 01, Lot 6, Major Soil Moving Permit. Is the applicant here for that? If you could come forward. Are you an attorney or?
No, I'm the president of Forge Hill.
Oh, sorry about that.
Trick chairs.
And you're the president of the Forge Hill
Yes, of
Construction,
Forge Hill
but you don't have an attorney present?
I do not.
The board can only hear applications of businesses and corporations presented by an attorney.
I thought soil moving permits were,
I was under the impression that I didn't need to bring it, my attorney.
For soil moving permits was an exception.
There's an exception, okay. If that's what you've done in the past, that's fine.
yes. Okay. All right, but you still have to sign him, swear him in because he's not an attorney.
Okay. If you please raise your right hand.
You-
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
Robert Kovacs, Kovacs, 11 Countryside Drive, Rockaway, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Is there anything that we need?
I don't do school permits.
Oh, you don't do soil? Okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Not for me.
Very good. All right, if you could present to us what you're intending to do, how you're intending to do it, and why we should grant you a soil moving permit.
Well, I am trying to build a roughly 2,000 square foot house on 0.6 acres. And the way the soil balances out, I need to remove some soil from the, I need to remove approximately 472 yards, 25 trucks. And that's how the engineering worked out.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, question?
Yes.
So, I think should we be looking at this as if all the other, requirements for this building permit are approved? This is just about the soil moving, right?
Yes.
That's our assumption,
Okay.
and that's all we're granting is if they have missed some of the zoning requirements or the building requirements, and all they're asking for is a soil moving, that's all we're granting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Gordon, if you could,
the engineer's letter says there's only 236 cubic yards of soil moving. Did you say 400 and something?
Parsippany does not count the soil that's coming out of the foundation excavation.
Correct, yes, okay.
So, however you guys told me to allocate it is what we did. But
Okay,
that's
so
the total amount that's leaving.
so the extra 200 is from the basement excavation?
Correct.
And that, yeah, that doesn't count for soil moving permits, is my understanding.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
all right, other questions?
I've got a couple.
Mr. Councilman?
25 trucks, what route will they be taking? Fox Hill Road is a very narrow, windy road.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate, where I lined it up. I would take Fox Hill Road out to 46, which is about 0.4 miles. Go west on 46, 3 miles, and then make a left on Franklin in Rockaway, heading south. I would go about 1 mile, you bear right at the fork, and then, 0.4 miles, there's a site, number 384 Franklin.
All right, I was not asking for that much detail. I was worried, how you gonna get out of Fox Hill? Okay, 25 trucks. What hours of operation are you anticipating?
Usually running between 7 and 4,
What days of the week?
Monday through Friday. Well,
Well, we do have,
25
the route you're taking then will involve commuting traffic. Could you push that back to maybe, what we say, 9:30, 10 o'clock? So you don't impact, commuting traffic in the morning?
I suppose we could. It's really, it's not that many trucks, so I don't anticipate, this being a week-long project. I would have several trucks and get it over with as soon as we could as well,
You probably be paying trucks to sit in traffic during that time, so like it's saying, you can move faster at a later time.
Faster and safer
Sure.
That's fine.
at a later time?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just want to second Mr. DePerio's comment. There's a school as well on the other side of the Fox Hill, right? So I think the delaying would be much beneficial for, I think, everyone.
To do what?
To move the trucks a little later in the day, as Michael DePerio suggested, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you don't intend at all to bring trucks through 53 at all, right? The other side of Fox Hill?
No, I can get onto 46
Yeah.
in less than half a mile. That's much simpler for me to get on the highway and do
Oh,
it.
yeah, okay, because the other side have a school, big school there, so we
Yeah,
just
no,
wouldn't want to get there, yeah.
I pay these trucks by the hour too, so.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Not sit in traffic helps.
Fair enough. Mr. Von Auken, you had a,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my question would be about, with regards to where the soil is coming from, and if the drainage has been reviewed by the engineers.
The,
The drainage that's potentially involved in the removal of soil, has that all been reviewed by your engineers and won't impact the neighboring
well, as
properties?
far as setting up just silt fence and everything is definitely on the plans, yes.
But then also that the grade of your property following this will not add extra drainage to
No,
your property, to
I'm
your
not
neighbors?
trying to dump any water on anybody's property.
Okay.
I'm here to make my project and the neighbors all happy with the end product.
Okay.
all right. Any other questions? Mr. Canjiano, do you have any comments?
No,
or-
just a question. What's the status of your township block grading plan approval? Did you submit? Did you get comment back?
Yes, it's all submitted into
Did you get approval
engineering.
yet or no?
I think they're waiting on soil moving permit. I don't have final approval, no.
Okay. And then what about the county soil conservation district? Did you apply for that yet?
I have that,
Okay,
yes.
that's all I have.
Okay. So you're willing to work with the township engineer to make sure that you got it right, and you're not interfering with your neighbors'
Correct,
enjoyment of their
correct.
property?
I had, I introduced myself to the neighbors. First off, my driveway is a thin 20-something foot slot between two houses, so I'm gonna impact, I'm gonna be a pain in the neck, yeah. But I also explained if I can slope my driveway in, we'll blend everything in nice and take care of it.
Yep.
And You know, it'll end nicer that way than if I just work on my property and that's it. I can blend the yards together nicer.
Well, as we explained to another applicant some time ago, if your project ends up putting more water on a neighbor's piece of property, then you have to come back and fix it.
Sure, sure.
So that's something I'm aware of because I tend to walk past that piece of property that the neighbors complained about. So, all right, anything else that we need here?
I have a question. There's a copy we have here of an email that was sent about work starting without prior approval. Would you be able to comment on that?
Yes, I received tree removal permit.
Mm-hmm.
So, all I was trying to do was put down some gravel tracking pad. I was gonna proceed with taking the trees down. I thought if I had the permit, I was allowed to go.
Mm-hmm.
The town engineer informed me that I wasn't until this was done, so I stopped.
Okay.
I was gonna take down the trees. I had the winter with me, so it started snowing now, but, you know, not too bad. But I was gonna take advantage of that,
Okay.
so.
Jennifer, is that the usual rule? He got the tree removal permit
He already has a zoning permit too.
and he has a,
Remember
Zoning
is
I have,
first,
yes.
then engineering, and Parks and Forestry is at the same time. So as you see from Justin's memo in the packet, he basically okays, he just needs some more information at the pre-construction meeting. But residential moves very quickly. And it's rare to need soil moving, but this is a flag lot with grading, so engineering comes later. So that's why most of the other prior approvals have already been met.
I think the comment came from the Soil Conservation District, and they said that they hadn't been given 48 hours notice of the start of construction, and that the various measures that are required by the permit weren't installed.
I've been in contact with Morris County Soils, and typically, I put my tracking pad in, I put my silt fence in, and I give them notice that I'm ready to start construction. I was not starting construction, but I can't put a tracking pad in and a silt fence without a machine. It would take an army to do that by hand. So I normally put the tracking pad in, which is the gravel at the mouth of a construction site, and then you put your silt fence in, and that's when I give approval. If I give them notice before all of that's done, they come out, inspect my site, and say you're not ready to go. So it's putting the horse in front of the cart instead of the other way.
yes, okay. It'll work.
Needing this kind of throws off the balance and that's why we've been talking about changing the ordinance, because his amount is so small that this is probably more of a minor
Yes.
than a major. And so, I've already been talking to Andrew and Gordon and going to ask to change the ordinance, to a higher number so that ones like this that are residential wouldn't have to come to the board.
That
Which we
makes
talked
sense.
about at a previous meeting also.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense to me. Any other questions or comments? Anybody, in the public that would like to comment or come up and, question this witness on this testimony? If you would come up, identify yourself, and if you want to ask a question at this time, that's fine. If you want to
I don't
go.
want to ask a question, I just want to make some statements. My name's Dan Knowlton, KNOWLTON. I live at 181 Fox Hill Road, Parsippany-Troy.
So if you could please raise your right hand.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I didn't come to class prepared, but I have pictures of the site.
Mr. Knowlton, you'll want to grab the microphone so we can get this on the record.
I have pictures of the site I'd like to hand, but I only have 5 to give to the board, so I can give 3 of you each 1 copy, so you can see what the site looks like. You're a new guy, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, you could, yeah, side and.
You're the important one. The front is Jamie. Ladies first.
I don't review, so. And do you have a copy for the applicant as well? Yes. Could you?
I've been a contractor for 39 years. I've worked with Morris County Soils. I'm presently finishing up a $2 million house in Denville. Before that, I used to be an inspector with Parsippany on the CETA program right out of high school. I'm a lifelong Parsippany resident, and the house I own directly across the street is my math teacher's house. So I have a lot of concerns about this town. I know the mayor, grew up with him, grew up with most of the councilmen, been here all my life. When I go to a site, I have to put up silt fence first. You don't need heavy equipment for that. It has to be done before you start doing any soil movement on the site. This site was dug out, and if you look at page number 3, the entrance to the site basically is considered, I guess it's frontage. To get a subdivision, they must have allowed Fox Hill Road with a guardrail and a steep slope to be their frontage. But where he's coming out, you'll see a tree is leaning towards my house. In 1972, the sewers were put down that street. So they compromised the root base because the sewer diagram that was given to me by Joe Beckerman, Meyer, I apologize.
I'm sorry, Mr. Knowlton, before we move on, the pictures and diagrams that you presented in your exhibit, there's 15 pages, and they're
I'm
made...
going to name the ones that I want to look at, there's only a few.
All right, but before we get into that, did you take all of the photos? In what date did you take the photos?
March 4th.
And there's some diagrams in the,
Yes.
and maps?
The one that was in Paul Nikoff, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in his office.
Yes.
I had a meeting with him about the site and requested information about how the subdivision was done. There was no variance. It was done in 2001. I don't know who the administration was that approved it, but there's no frontage on that property, and they allowed a driveway to come in towards our homes. Then, after that was approved, I think Kathy McMaster brought it to zoning, and met all offsets. So basically what they did was they allowed the house to be constructed there. The work started without a building permit as of March 4th. They started without a soils permit. There was no silt fence put up. 2 people on either side of this property just bought their homes, and they paid a lot of money for it. One of the properties on the right-hand side of 182 basically spent quite a bit of money getting soils and stop water movement. If you look at picture number 2, right after a stop work order was issued by Sal, after a meeting with Paul, basically we had water running down towards the property of Leah and Chris. This area you're looking at was already landscaped. There was no soil there at all with any water. They spent quite a bit of money to do that. The equipment that he brought in basically went and caused more drainage problems. Also, if you look at page number one
So
again,
page 2, just to go back, that is a picture of whose property?
that's a picture of, I assume, the builder's property.
Is that correct? Okay.
And on the right-hand side is Piyush, neighbor to the left. And I'm standing on the property from Chris and Leah. Now, if you take a look at the property of picture number 1, when these houses were built in '58, there's a knoll with 4 large oak trees are sitting on it, and they sit approximately 4 feet in the air. They had to cut the soils around to build the houses that were there originally. Mr. Kovac basically went in and he cut down the soils 2 feet lower than that. He basically, after Morris County Soils came out, Kara Haskell, she basically told me that the tree's been compromised already because you're driving heavy equipment. When I worked for the town and I had the Prudential site and the Hilton site, I had to stay 20 feet away from all the trees, and I couldn't even leave supplies on it. Not only that, no work was commenced until we had hay bales and silt fence up. Any contractor that knows anything about anything knows that's the first thing you do. Okay, so secondly, this tree had compromised in 1972 when they put the sewer 13 feet down. I had the sewer company come out, thanks to Bob Campbell, and basically the center of the pipe is 12 feet 9 inches down. The invert is 13 feet. So when you take a look at picture, the one you've seen with the water, when you take a look at this picture, he's got a cut grade 13 feet down. So therefore, he's going to take all the roots along that tree line, and he's going to destroy that tree. Worse than it's already been damaged. It's already leaning towards my house.
Hold on, just a moment. We are here for a soil moving permit.
Well, he's gonna be moving these soils.
I understand that, but that's an engineering issue.
Can I address
Site
this
plan.
real quick?
Yes. And that's not in front of us at this time.
Okay, the soils are gonna be removed from this area, so are the roots.
And that's a useful thing. Now, you have plenty of opportunity to respond, but we're trying to make out where our powers are with regard to this particular issue.
Okay.
This is so clearly an engineering thing.
Right, I spoke to the engineer about it, he agrees. But basically, what's gonna happen is this tree is gonna be like a hinge go towards my house. So the insurance company told me to advise Jim Walsh, also the owner of the property, the owner that the tree is on, their property, and give them a letter in writing, sent certified mail, that if this tree hits my house, that those people will be responsible for it. If I don't do this and bring this to your attention tonight, what'll happen is, I'm saying it's okay, and then if the tree hits, my insurance company pays for it.
That part is not true. Identifying the problem, sending certified mail
Is what I was told
is
to
the
do by
important,
lawyers and by
that's,
2 insurance companies.
yes, but that's not our issue.
Well, I'll bring it to the town's attention, because Jim
Yes.
Walsh is involved in it. He said that there was no roots being dug up when he looked at the original picture of when he went down 2 feet. He's gotta go down 13 feet. And that soil's gonna be removed. So it is part of this, but if that's not what you want to hear from me, that's fine. I'm just bringing it to your attention that the tree is gonna get killed. It was painted to be taken down, and now it's not being taken.
It is taken down, it being taken down. You're wrong.
He told the neighbors that he wasn't gonna do it.
No. I
I'm
did
not
not.
gonna get into an argument here, so if this is just about soils and I'm in the wrong place, then I apologize for wasting everybody's time.
Sir, do you have a response?
Yes, the tree in question, okay, it was, when I marked, I put an orange dot on the trees that are being taken down, or that I wanted to take down, so that Parks and Forestry could take a look at them. And I sprayed that tree, okay? And it was more of a question mark than a because the tree is not on my property. It's on town property, okay? And then when I got the tree permit, the Parks and Forestry said in a note saying, when I take the soil out, for my driveway, to notify them, and they would come out and take a look at what kind of damage. So they said, it's not damaged, leave it. So, okay, it's an expensive tree. You're not breaking my heart, but yes, it is leaning that way. I initially said I'd take it down, and then I guess after Mr. Knowlton spoke to them, they came back with this condition that I'm going to be responsible for that tree for 2 years. I'm not, that's crazy. If that tree gets in an ice storm or something like that, I'm still responsible for it. So I said, let me take it down. And they said, okay, I got to put a 2-inch tree back, but I wasn't going to pull the stump because it is very close to the road and it is a large tree.
Is that on,
So,
town property, or is that on?
yes,
It's in the right of way?
It's in the right of way.
It's in the right of way.
It's 9 feet off the road.
so,
10 feet off the road is the right of way. 15.
so
Now,
Parks,
the gentleman said that he was offered to take down his tree. When he first came there and he went around and met people in the neighborhood, that is the truth. The gentleman, Piyush and myself, he said he was gonna take the tree down. A week later, he said he's not taking it down, it's the town's property. So then I called up Jim Walsh after speaking with Breslauer, who came out to look at it from forestry, and he said that there's no reason because he hasn't damaged the roots. But one thing Jim Walsh didn't realize is he's gotta dig down 13 feet to hit the sewer main. Once he does that, he's gonna kill those roots, and that tree's gonna be like a hinge and head directly at my house. So I'm just bringing it to the town's attention, and I'm bringing it to his attention in
that's
a certified
appropriate.
letter. And
but it's
also-
already been agreed upon that it's coming down.
That
So-
he's
No,
agreed.
He's lying about that.
I'm
He's-
not
He was-
lying
he said he was
about
gonna
that.
take it down
Gentlemen,
and then change his
please.
mind.
Please,
Mr. Knowlton,
I don't care
Please.
about lying and stuff like that.
I do,
Don't bring it up here.
okay?
It's not our purview.
Right, I want
he
the
has
tree down. If
agreed-
he did what he said he was gonna do, it wouldn't be
He
a problem.
has agreed to do what our engineer says has to be done.
Okay, as of March 4th,
He-
there was no
I
agreement
don't
with him
care.
and the engineer.
I don't,
Me and Parks and Forestry.
he has agreed to deal with our township
That'd be
officials, with our township
That's what we
officials,
requested,
and do what is required.
correct.
All right, that's where we are.
Now, do you handle what's gonna happen to the road after he digs it
Nope.
up? Who handles that?
That's township engineer. The whole thing is with,
Paul?
the township engineer, which is, Justin Lizza and Paul Niehoff's office. I'm surprised that they, and I noticed the letter that we have in front of us is from February 7th, and it looks like you broke ground somewhere more recent than that, in
Correct.
March. I don't know if that's in violation to what,
That's what
to
it
what
tells
they,
us.
so there's issues with his approvals and what's going on out there between, his, township engineering approval by Justin Liz's office, and, well, they have their SED, but he may not have noticed them properly with the 48 hours. So you may be working in violation of the town rules and starting land disturbance prior to getting your lot grading plan approval. I don't know, and I'm not gonna get into that.
But when
let
you
me finish.
understand why I fear
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he says?
So my only suggestion on this is, our approval is should the board give approval for the lot, for the soil movement, it would be a conditional approval on having the lot grading plan, Justin Liz's office approval first. It should be a conditional on the town's approval of his lot improvements.
And can we use Morris County Soils approval also? Because they're making him come up with...
That's outside of this
custom
jurisdiction. So,
The construction department won't issue a CO or without the prior approvals,
Right,
including
without Morris
soil.
County Soils, I know.
So
But
that's,
he's supposed to submit plans to Morris County Soil.
I did that.
He has his approval from them, what it looks like,
So I don't know what he's done since.
It's in the package, he has it.
He has, it was October.
But, I defer to council on that, but I would recommend that it's not a go-ahead until the township gives their go-ahead on their approval.
That's fine. Do you agree that, to that condition, that the soil movement permit would be subject to grading approval by the town?
Well, that's in the engineering department's hands. It's been there.
He can't build without it, so.
Yeah.
Engineering is
It's-
prior approval of construction,
But
so we
can-
can't build without that. We
Can
don't
the
have to put it in
landowners
ours.
around that approve these plans too? No.
No, this is the board, the planning board.
We can review it with a township engineer.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I've been in this business 39 years, and there are people that make life miserable for you, and there's people that don't. You're laughing because you know, and I do too. I met this gentleman, I used to keep an eye on his equipment for him, so nobody would bother him. But he just goes in and barrels through, and he does things without proper protocol. And I don't believe what he has to say. I've never started a job without a permit. I dealt with Ron Ferrari, and I've dealt with Sal forever. And I would get my, you-know-what handed to me if I did. You're laughing because you know it's true.
I'm just staying out of it.
Yeah, there you go. That's a smart man. So am I. Thank you for your time, Board. I appreciate it.
Do you have any further statements beyond?
No, I do not, other than
Okay.
between Parks and Forestry, we decided several weeks ago that that tree was coming down, and Parks and Forestry would take care of the stump. They would grind it. I would put a replacement tree in. That's where it ended.
Okay.
As far as me starting work beforehand, I was putting gravel in. I had my tree permit. I was gonna move forward with taking trees down.
I think because
If I
of the
jump the-
nature of the piece of property and because of how close it is to your neighbor's properties, what you thought of as simple ground prepping was more than that to them.
Correct.
All right, and you're gonna need to be sensitive to that because of the size, if we should approve this, because of the location of your neighbors, you have to be,
Right, and I'm not looking to, make enemies or, to leave them with any mess at all. None.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
the actions taken on your property, if they impact your neighbors, you know, that's on you.
I understand
Okay.
that, and
And I'm sure they don't want to deal with a tree in their house. They'd rather make sure that's dealt with properly ahead of that.
well, it was an ongoing process, and
Mhm.
again, telling me I have to cut down a tree wasn't so easy, because it wasn't my tree.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not as cut and dry as all of that. I can't just go and cut down a tree. 'cause
No, you're not allowed to.
You know?
Without
Yeah,
the council.
we'll
No,
be
but
here for a different
these
reason.
things have to be dealt with, and the fact that the law and the engineering department and the building department may require that they be done in a specific order indicated that perhaps you jumped the gun a little bit on doing some of the work.
I thought I had a tree removal permit that I was gonna
And
move
normally, if your property was normally spaced, that might be considered that way for other areas, but this so clearly impacts your neighbors
correct.
that we have to be a bit more sensitive,
Okay.
all right?
So, I guess, any other,
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that, but any other members of the public wish to speak and discuss this, please come forward, state your name, be sworn in. Hello.
Would you speak into
You
the
can use the
microphone?
microphone. You can pull it out. It's, it
There's
comes
one
out.
laying
It
on
comes
the
out.
table, just pick it up.
Should be on.
It should be on. Yes.
Hi, my name is Chris. This is Leah. We live on 176 Knoxville, the right-hand
All right.
side.
You
What
know
is your last
Is
name?
the light on a, is the light on a microphone green or orange or red, whatever? It was already on, so if you pressed it, you muted it.
Nope. Not. Ted Rex.
You have to hold it, okay.
Working? Hello? You hear me?
No, not really.
Hello? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
So if you both,
I'm Chris, this is Leah. We live on 176 Fox Hill on the right-hand side. And we have concern about,
so if you could please both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
First name is Chris, K-R-I-S. Last name is Ramjit, R-A-M-J-I-T.
Spell it again, I apologize.
R-A-M-J-I-T.
Thank you.
Leah, Leah, Thomas, Thomas.
Okay, thank you.
Well, with the land, it's, the way it's situated, it's on a hill. So when we bought the property first, we had to spend a lot of money to put soil on it. To fill it up to make it even so it won't have a puddle. So now, when Mr. Robert started digging, everything was flooded again.
Would you please speak louder, speak into the mic?
When Mr. Robert started, digging his driveway to put our land, it started like filling up in puddles again with the water. I took some pictures, I didn't print it out, it was on my phone. And Mr. Robert said he will level it out, like make both sides even. But my basement windows is right there, so it's like only so far he could go to put dirt. I wouldn't cover my windows on the basement, because the land's like sloped down. And my windows is right there, so if you fill it up with dirt, he's gonna cover my windows. So how far can you go to, put out the water, seep in there and stay in there?
Sir, is the water moving towards your property or away from the property
Right now it's not, because it's in the puddle right here.
On your property or on?
On our property, but it
Okay.
made it a bigger puddle than what it was when we first moved in. After our first rainstorm, we noticed it. So we put soil and we did everything to level it out. And then after the first rainstorm, then it's a lot worse than what it was. So we just want to make sure.
The water won't seep down into my basement, or it won't stay there in the puddle when they finish.
Okay.
That's my main
So
concern
our
with the
thing
water.
is that the money we spent is now gone. And we've only been there 10 months, so.
We have a question from one of our members.
So as explained earlier on, with the concerns about, the property and changes being made, these plans are pretty much contingent on a neighboring property gets worse after construction, that they would be back in here, they'd be responsible for the repairs. What about door and back door?
The rules are that when somebody does something to their land, they cannot make the conditions worse on their neighbor's land. Cannot. It must be repaired. It must be taken care of. We just put some guy through the ringer a couple of months ago because his water was running off into the backyard of a neighbor. And we forced them to come up with a rather substantial plan. Now, we didn't make them do the most expensive plan that they could have done, but frankly...
Is there gonna be like a drainage system to get that water out? Because my
It can be-
property is lower than surrounding.
It can
So
be
all
a
the water will
drain
stay on my
system,
property.
it can be swales, usually it's swales of some sort, so that the water is directed away from going onto the neighbor's property.
Did you visit the engineering department? You should visit the engineering department because they have the plans there, just as I do in the zoning department. If you would have a zoning question, you could come in, ask your questions, and be able to help you. So just like the construction department, that's mine, and engineering, you come in and look at the plans, they'll show you what he's building, and they'll explain how once it's built and the grading and everything is finished, and where the water will go to, they'll be able to, they're the experts, they'll be able to, we're just here to approve the soil moving, but engineering is where you want to go. If you have questions during the construction of the home, you can stop and see downstairs zoning construction, we can answer any of your questions. But engineering, you definitely want to visit them. They have his plans, they can show you everything and show you the time frame of how it'll work, and then you can call them when you have questions while it's under construction.
Just a question. Oh, sorry. Are you lot 3? Do you know your lot number? You said you're 176, correct?
Right here, 176.
So you're the one that is just to the right of the property? Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the contours. It seems like, you're like the low spot for the whole neighborhood.
Yes, my property is very low. That's why we have to spend a lot of money to fill it back up.
Well, but then I have another question. How long does that last? Like, say, what if something happens in 5 years from now?
Go back and visit the engineering department.
Okay.
That's what they do. They're to handle flooding of Parsippany. So any resident who, somebody does work 6 houses down and it affects you, you have a problem, you give them a call. That's what the township departments are there for. If you have questions about anything, you come and visit the departments and we'll direct you to what's the best department to talk to.
Well, the applicant has heard their concerns. Maybe the applicant hasn't a response. Do you have a response to their concerns?
Well, initially, I know that spot was low, and that was part of my initial conversation with them, that when I run my driveway through, if you let me blend them together, they have low spot there. I know they spent a lot of money, it's still low. That's the only way puddle's gonna form, is if there's a high side around it, which is the case. Now, if I bring my grade in, it doesn't have to come up a lot. You just have to displace the sitting water. If they allowed me, which we had a conversation on it, and they didn't seem to have a problem, I could bring a little, bring the grade up a little bit there, and that'll move the water.
The only reason why we were concerned is because after that first rainstorm, then there was a bigger puddle than what was there then. It was a lot bigger.
Well, but
Grade up is gonna make it worse.
It sounds like you might have some additional discussions with the engineering department to make sure everything works out.
well, that, again, if I can blend the grade through,
Yeah.
I don't see how.
The engineering
We're not
department-
experts on that, though,
The
so,
engineering department wouldn't have sent us a memo to review the soil moving if they had issues with his grading proposed. Just as if I had a problem with something I was approving and I wasn't going to approve it, I would never let them come before the board. So I feel confident that engineering has the answers to your questions. They wouldn't have had them come for soil moving if they hadn't had that figured out. But then he'll at least be able to explain to you how, as the project changes, it might get worse before it gets better, because all that soil is moving, and until the house is done.
I understand
and the
that part, I just
grading-
don't want to get stuck with it when.
And when
when
it's
we're finishing the
finished.
job.
Actually,
Right.
Jennifer,
I don't
that
wanna get stuck with it.
gets at a question I have, is that during the process of working on the project, if it makes things untenable for a period of time, even though the ultimate project works, what is the process there?
Engineering visits the site, they're the one department. I mean, construction, once the house is being built, will come out, but engineering is out there. Have you had your pre-construction meeting yet?
No,
So when he has his pre-construction meeting, that's when water and sewer will come out and meet. There'll be someone from, if the police department was involved, that's when all the departments come together at the engineering department during that pre-construction, and they'll all comment on what their issues are. And that's when they'll go over with him when they want the trucks, where they want the soil, and then they'll visit the site throughout it. So I had a site in Lake Parsippany when they were building a house, same thing, grading, and they had to immediately go out and move soil to prevent the water that was rushing away because the project wasn't completed yet. So there are measures in place that they will do to protect the neighbors. But if you at least go and visit them and give them your name and your telephone number and your information, and that way when they're out there and they know that you have concerns, then they can talk to you about it. And that way you have a number and a name to call. I know in the next week, there's supposed to be a whole bunch of rain for 3 days. At least you'd have a name and a number and a person assigned to the project who you would be able to talk to. Because in engineering, there's somebody there that's assigned to each project. So he's working with someone that you would be able to contact.
All right, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Right. Any other comments or questions by members of the public? Please come ahead and identify yourself and your address and...
My name is Piyush Singh Chetri, and I live in 190 Fox Hill Road. I'm the left-hand side neighbor.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Piyush S. Chetri, Chhetry.
Thank you.
So, my concern is, I have a fence going from all the way from the road to all the way to the end of my property. And, the fence, initially, like, a gentleman came to me and he asked that if he can, take the fence out from that, fence out, and so that he can just, put the soil and whatever the project he's working on. And I asked him, like, if you're taking the fence out to work on your project, are you going to put the fence back? So, bless you. Initially, he said yes, but sometime I had a feeling that he's not 100% sure about that if he wants to put the fence back. So I keep asking him again and again, like, he has the answer to say yes, but I didn't feel that comfortable. So I'd like to raise my question here that among you, that if he finishes the project, he put my fence. And as a matter of fact, the soil he's gonna put to build the road, it starts from my side of the property, like the path hole, or you can say the pit hole, like the big downside area. It starts from my property. So he agreed on that. He's gonna fill the soil of that part as well, and he's gonna build the fence. But I wanted assurance from him that he's gonna build my fence as well after the work is done.
Well, that's literally between you and him. It's not our purview.
If he's continue working in that project, and I just want to make sure myself and my family members that yes, he is going to do what he has told us. But later on, he was saying that, oh, that fence was not mine even. That raises my concern with me, that the person who is working on my neighboring property, like, I have no idea, like, what he's saying and what he's doing, and I'm not 100% sure on that. So I just need assurance for that before he just starts something over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that would have to be an agreement between you two. The board can't get involved in matters that are on your property, because this is an application just for the applicant's property. So you'd have to work that out between the two of you. The board can't make a determination about that.
But I would still like to ask the question of the applicant. If you're gonna take his fence down, you're gonna put it back,
Honestly, the fence is on my property. It was my fence.
There you go.
Oh, the fence is on your property,
Correct.
so it's your fence.
That's the way I saw it.
According to the existing conditions plan, at least on the driveway, that part, yes, it's on the applicant's property.
So it's his fence.
And then it goes across to your property.
Right, I will restore the fence. That's not an issue. I need to bring, he's on the uphill side of my driveway.
So, like I'm dealing with Chris and Leah's side, being the low side, his I would blend in as well, try to ease that slope a little bit. It's a big drop off. It was just a leaf collector for
Maybe it will be
40
like
years.
8 feet or something.
How
The
high
drop
is,
off is
how high is the fence?
The fence was
4
just
feet.
a
4 feet.
chain link fence.
4-foot chain
4
link?
feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you
Chain
replace
fence.
the fence, either one of you, that does need a permit, so remember, come back to zoning for that. Even if you take it down, once it's down, it loses all rights, so you would want to get a permit from zoning for the new fence before you install it.
So did you put the fence up in the first place?
When I bought the house, the fence was there.
Okay, so you don't know who put it up. It just happens to be on, yeah.
Initially,
this
the
property.
land was the big chunk of the property Mr. Chris owned right now, but
Okay.
later on, it was divided to give us a road for the property in the back.
Understood, yeah.
So, there was no reason to put a fence in between the two property, but I have a fence all around my house. So if you don't have an answer that who put the fence in the property, I have it because I do have a fence all around my house. So I believe that my previous owner put that fence. Yes, it might be like a couple inches left and right that I cannot argue on that, but yes, the comment he's trying to make is like the fence is not mine and he can do whatever he can do. It's not gonna happen then.
You got, as our attorney said, you have the ability to say, no, you can't take the fence down and make it.
No, initially he
I-
agreed to fix it.
I told him initially that I would put it back, okay? And that was the initial plan. And that really hasn't changed for me. I'm trying to bring the 2 yards together. I could not do that with the fence up.
Is that in your plans, all that detailed out, how you're bringing the 2 yards?
No. It's not a major reconstructing of, soil movement. It's just a matter of blending. And there was a couple of trees that are on his property that are leaning over my driveway. So I explained to him, it'd be better if I take them out rather than just whatever's hanging over, cut it off. Because you're gonna be stuck with a couple of,
I'm gonna actually ask a question at this point, because I'm looking at the zoning table on this thing, and I see lot width variance required and stuff like that.
Was it approved subdivision from the?
Well, that's, variance approved is the question. Actually, I don't see
I
that.
wouldn't have issued a zoning permit if it didn't have
Yeah.
variances.
Yeah, that's true. Existing.
You could try to find out.
Because we're getting deep into site plan.
I said it,
Yeah.
I issue the permit, I'm the director of construction planning and zoning, and I issue permits for new construction, so I would have issued the permit for the new single-family dwelling, and I would not have issued a permit if it didn't have a past approved subdivision.
Right.
Because there's
I've dealt with
variances
that,
involved,
right?
yeah,
I've all the
you know.
offsets, so I know that.
The other thing
But
I,
he's saying,
Sir, Mr. Knowlton, please don't speak from the audience. You have to either come up to the microphone when the chairman has addressed you.
can I help answer
Well,
about the
wait,
fence?
before we, all of these things are important and useful, but we only have a single item in front of us, and that is the soil moving permit. We are not in site
I was
plan.
just trying to clear up a couple of things.
I agree, and you've been very helpful, actually, so I'm not.
Can I get that in writing?
Sure. I'm baffled by where the original approval to this came from. I'm assuming this is a pre-existing condition.
I would have to go down and pull the permit. I issue hundreds of permits. Do you recall if?
Well,
there was a
when
plan-
was this property subdivided?
2001.
Is
before I was involved.
Lincoln Ferris, who was a rocket scientist, got dementia. He sold the property. They were trying to sell it as one property. Then the real estate agent that he does business with, talked them into subdividing the property and selling it separate. They get $180,000 for it. Basically, they only got $50,000. She sold it to him, and now the real estate agent's gonna make 5% on when he builds a $650,000 home.
I understand that.
So it's an approved
But it meets all
subdivision.
the offsets, that's why you did what you did. By him saying he's gonna fudge this area in, he's gonna cut property away from him, lower it, and it's gonna be a slide going right to their house. Their basement is so low, no matter what he does, unless he puts in a drainage system with a wall, where it's gonna carry down to a drain in the back of his property is going to come down lower, and theirs is gonna remain wet.
It's not
They
gonna
sold
be
the house,
cut
excuse me
down.
for 1 minute. The house that they sold had mold in it because the water's been going there for years. It's just gonna be a little bit faster. And that's gonna be time for the time.
Can I answer on the zoning permit? You could contact the zoning department, and we keep all of our records of old permits. There might be on record a permit for that fence. So if there's a permit for that fence that shows that it was issued to you, but in error by accident, it went 2 inches or 3 inches the wrong way, we would allow you to replace it or replace a part of it, because you'd already have the permit, and the permits don't expire, they run with the land forever.
I'm going to ask the question here of this board and of our professionals. There seems to be an awful lot of information we do not have.
However, all of these things, that's the reason why I wanted to change the soil moving, because this isn't an application that's reviewed by the board's engineer. It's reviewed by the township engineer. But I honestly wouldn't believe that Justin would have done a memo if he had issues. Yes, there's issues on the property, and they should definitely tomorrow call engineering and come out and see, and you should stop in the zoning. But-
Should we consider waiting for a further review from Justin, or should we just move forward with this and site plan still needs to be worked out with?
This is a soil moving permit, 472 yards of soil. This is a no-brainer as far as the soil moving permit goes. And what Jen is saying is the engineering department has it under control. The other issues that we're not supposed to be addressing here.
Right.
So leave those issues alone, let the engineer take care of those, and let's just address a soil moving permit for 472 yards of soil.
Is that to be taken off-site?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
And I asked him for the route, and he gave us the route.
400 and,
No,
472 yards,
that's 22 yards per truckload.
25 trucks, roughly.
So that's, all that soil is gonna get dropped down. So that means that the road that is already a steep slope is gonna be going down even further when he digs out this house. I'm just wondering if anybody's given that any thought.
The engineers have as part of their site plan evaluation.
I went and I spoke with Boss.
Okay, so,
But some of those grades are off. They're showing that steep slope is 14 feet, 20 feet.
That's their job, though, as engineers, to go out and review the
So you're
site.
advising them to just speak to engineering and go.
Only because the board,
Yeah, I don't wanna tie
the
up
engineer for the board hasn't reviewed the
I've never seen this.
application. He's never seen this, so our view is to listen to our expert, and our expert didn't review it. And Justin Lizza did write a letter as the township engineer, and he recommended approval. So that's like the document that we're going on to listen to. And unfortunately, all of these issues, we should have addressed had we known about them prior to tonight, so that we could answer all of your questions. Yeah, and if there's any issues and you do not hear from anybody, you can call my
I
office.
dealt with you for years.
Call my office. Call my office if you have any problems.
can she get that in writing?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the councilman that this is a soil moving permit and only a soil moving permit, so, I think we've got the information we need for that part of it.
All right, well, let's hear the final words of the public and of the applicant, and then go
Yes.
forward with the motion.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, that, I believe the soil moving permits, the reason we raised this question was because this, everything is related with the soil moving and soil dumping or soil removing. So that's the reason, and as a matter of fact, that this made, the fence came down as a domino effect of that soil moving. So I believe that the fence coming out or broken down was an effect of this situation. That's the reason I came up with my question. And as he agreed that he's going to fix the fence, and I will take his word.
I'm not gonna increase your slope. I'm gonna ease your slope.
I agreed on that because I said that, yes, you agreed to balance out the entire of that landscape. I'm happy to go for that. And you broke the fence, and you mentioned that you're gonna make the fence same as it is. And you said yes, but ma'am said that we need an additional approval for that, and which I would say that that should not be my job of like taking care of the fence and fixing it. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who made it that way. So I would rather say that he need to fix it the way it was, and before he finishes his job, I believe. That's the agreement or
Well, that's,
affirmation I need from him.
okay, that's
Thank you.
actually between the two of you.
I told you I would, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
If you find he doesn't do what he says he would, you have other options, but that's not in front of this board.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Anyone else wish to come forward and speak on this topic at this time? Hearing and seeing none, do you have anything further to add, sir?
No, not at this time.
All right, that closes the evidentiary portion of this hearing at this time. Do I hear a motion?
Can I make a comment real quick? Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
All right, I like what the councilman said about sticking to the soil moving permit, but I also want to now commend Mr. Kovacs about, he seemed very open and responsive to all the neighbors' concerns, so usually we don't have those kind of builders around here. They just, they do what they want to do. He's very open, he's listening, he's responding, so I appreciate what he's doing. He's taking a lot of heat as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments by members of the board? I'm going to reiterate before we do this, that when we get to site plan, whatever is built has to be, meet the town requirements for not making things worse than they are. That's the law, and he will be forced to fix any problems that he creates. So, all right, and you got any of the conditions that we discussed for this soil movement permit? Normally, there are no conditions for that, but
So
other than timing.
the applicant agreed to start for the truck movements at 9 a.m. or later, correct?
Okay.
The applicant will work with the township engineer to confirm the grading plans and drainage. And if problems arise with regard to drainage, the applicant will be responsible for fixing same. And the applicant also agreed to work with the town officials regarding parks and forestry with respect to any of the trees on the property. And that as a condition of any soil moving approval, the applicant must receive a lot grading plan approval from the township, which would be required anyway.
I think with regard to parks and forestry, it was with any tree that was affected by the soil moving or the construction work.
Okay.
Rather than just on his property. You got it.
All right.
Anything else? Those are the ones we mentioned. Does anybody wish to move a,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
a motion to approve application number 23:503, Forge Hill Construction Incorporated, 182 Fox Hill Road, Lot 102.01, Lot 6, major soil moving permit with the conditions as elaborated by our board attorney.
Second, Matt.
Second, Eddie.
Beat
All
you.
right. Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Didich.
Yes.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Mealy. Mr. Math.
Yes.
Mr. Napolitano.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw. Mr. Stanziel.
Yes.
Mrs. Feely.
Yes.
Mr. Von Aiken.
Yes.
Chairman Dinsmore.
Yes. And we have granted the permit. I'm going to ask if the board would like to take a 5-minute break before we move on to the next case. So,
Thank you.
we're going to take a 5-minute break from here, or thereabouts. Is the machinery working?
You are live.
We are live. All right, I am calling back to order after our brief recess, the meeting of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills Planning Board, Monday, March 20th, at almost 9 p.m. I was going to say, Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Didich.
Here.
DePiero.
Here.
Mealy.
Yes.
Math.
Present.
Napolitano.
Yes, here.
Shaw. Stanziel.
Here.
Veely.
Here.
Von Aiken.
Here.
Dinsmore.
Here. All right, we are reconvening our meeting and we are calling forward the RVRSA application number 23:502, 99 Green Bank Road, blocks 493 and 494, lots 1 and 7. This is a courtesy review for replacement of emergency generators. I'm sorry that we're not getting to you much sooner.
All right.
I hope we entertained you.
Good
Well,
evening,
we put
Mr.
on a
Chairman
show.
and members of the board. My name is Diane Alexander from the firm of Marizzi Falcon. We represent the Rockaway Valley Regional Sewage Authority. We are here to present pursuant to the board's responsibility to review capital projects of public bodies such as the RVRSA pursuant to section 31 of the municipal land use law. As you are aware, when the planning board has adopted any portion of the master plan, which you have, all such projects are referred to the board for review and recommendation in conjunction with the master plan. As you know also, the RVRSA owns and operates a sewage treatment facility and its associated infrastructure. As part of that function, it maintains backup generators in the event of a loss of power. The matter before you tonight is Planning Board Application 23:502, Rockaway Valley Regional Sewage Authority Emergency Generators Replacement Project, and it's been prepared by Kleinfelder. Tonight we have RVRSA's consulting engineer, Colin Ferguson, to provide a more detailed description of the project and to answer any of your questions, as well as the authority engineer, Bob Ocino, and the executive director, Joanne Monsini, in the event that you have any general questions regarding the RVRSA. At this time, I would like to have Mr. Ferguson sworn.
Well, Ms.
Or not.
Winter, I'd like to ask you a question. Are there any waivers or anything that we should consider before we begin this?
No.
All right. Since this is a courtesy review, I suspect we'll accept that you promise to tell the truth.
And nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Colin Ferguson. I'm principal engineer at Kleinfelder.
Pull the microphone closer to you.
I have over 35 years of experience as an environmental engineering consultant. My primary focus has been planning and design and project management of for water or municipal water and wastewater projects. So just to give you a little project overview, this project is essentially replacement of existing diesel fuel generators and related 4160 volt switchgear, both of which are over 37 years old and are really at the end of their useful life. It's getting harder to maintain and to obtain parts. So they really need to be replaced. It includes removal of the existing 12,000 gallon buried diesel fuel tank. 2 new 1,250 kW generators will be installed as part of the project. One will be diesel fueled and the other will be natural gas. The diesel tank will not have an underground storage tank. It'll be integral with the generator as a belly tank, a 6,000 gallon tank. The project will include installation of new 4160 kV switchgear. The new generators and switchgear are going to be located on the open parcel of land south of Greenbrook Road that's owned by RVRSA. Let's see, there's going to be new concrete foundation pads to support the new generators and switchgear equipment. So the generators themselves are going to be, as well as the switchgear, are going to be housed in outdoor rated walk-in type enclosures. There's going to be some miscellaneous site improvements involved, some new chain link fencing. There'll be an entrance driveway and apron to access the new facilities. There'll be a small retaining wall to hold back some of the grading that we need to accomplish, and some concrete sidewalks as well. And along with new electrical duct banks, including electrical feeders from the existing electrical substations, and as well as fiber optic cables for communications with the plant's SCADA system. As far as the need for the project, it's really all about the need to replace the existing generators and the related switchgear that are, as I said, really at the end of their useful lives, and it's all about maintaining plant operations during a power outage and preventing discharges of untreated sewage to the environment. So, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, or just feel free.
You have questions down
Yep.
here?
Thank you. Thank you for that. The old generators, where do you do with the old diesel fuel? You guys pump it out, or is it in there? It's gone already? Where is it at?
The fuel in the existing generators. That will have to be addressed in our specification for demolition, as well as removal of the existing, in addition to the generators, the existing storage tank is going to be removed, and we have a specification for how that's got to be done in accordance with all local.
Oh, you take the whole storage tank?
Yes.
You don't drain it first and then, okay. All right, and the new ones, I had a question there, I can't find it now. Oh, how far away do trees have to be from the new generators?
Trees, I'm not sure of the exact.
No, I saw you're cutting down a lot of trees in that area, so just wanted to double check and make sure they're gonna be far enough away.
When we say a lot, there's not really actually a lot. We figure there's about 8 trees potentially, and
So I see here too.
and yeah, if you saw the picture of what we're talking, it's there.
Yeah,
You know,
1, 2, 3.
they're like
Yeah,
less
7?
than 3 inches in diameter,
Yeah.
except for one large.
All right.
It's just kind of very
Okay.
minimal. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I was hoping you could go over each of these 50 sheets in detail. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding. The new generators, are they double walled to prevent spills at all, or
Not standard, no.
splash pads or whatever? Or?
So the diesel generator tank will have its own they call it a belly tank, and it's kind of the sub-base of the generator, and yes, that tank is double-walled.
They're all
Okay.
double wall today.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just curious, why didn't you just get to natural gas? Why bother with the diesel?
We kind of,
I'm Senior Executive Director in Guest
You're going to need to be in the mic.
Come up by the microphone, 'cause we record our meetings.
Initially, the project, we wanted two diesel generators, two natural gas generators, but, there it goes. But the town refused and said, no, we have to, by regulation, have on-site storage of a fuel. So we can't have on-site storage of natural gas, so we went with one diesel, one natural gas. So mostly we'll be running,
Guess if one fails, right? One might fail.
Pardon?
So,
yeah, it was a compromise.
yeah.
gas line gets cut
compromise.
off, the diesel works. Diesel doesn't work, the gas line still works, something like that probably.
Yeah, that'll work too. But originally, we wanted two natural
Might as well the
gas.
third one, not regular gas.
Jennifer, you had a...
Yes, I just wanted to know, what is the maximum height of the retaining wall and the fence with gate that surrounds? Do you know?
The maximum height of the retaining wall is 5 feet approximately. So it's tapered, but yes, at its maximum height above grade is about 4 to 5 feet.
Okay, and the fence surrounding?
The fence is, I'll have to check my details, but it's either a 6-foot or 7-foot high chain link fencing.
Okay. I think the previous we gave was 6.
On C8, it appears as if it's 8 feet tall, unless I'm reading it wrong.
That is correct. That's what our detail does show.
Okay, that's normally a variance, so for courtesy review, that puts, I don't know, what you think about that? Because usually anything, a courtesy review is that it doesn't create any variances to. I thought the last fence, though, we gave was 6 feet. The existing site is the existing fence there 8 feet? I thought it was 6. Okay,
I assume we would try to match what
yeah.
the existing fencing is, but
So
to be honest, I don't know what that is. I mean,
I'm trying to remember. I actually looked at one of the permits today.
Over 6 feet.
It's over 6 feet? Okay. All right, then if it's matching, then I don't have a problem with that. 8
that's
feet.
what we tend to do is match. If we match it, we're good.
Well, there is an indication of variance required, and that's apparently for parking in the front yard. Is that a pre-existing as well, or is there any change?
No,
Well, seeing that,
You want to tell them about the
Yeah.
meeting we had with the town?
we've had several meetings with town officials, all the town officials, including engineering, all subcode officials. That's one of the things that brought about the dual generators with different fuel sources, and we discussed all of these issues with them. What was the question?
What's the code on?
Parking in the front yard.
Oh, the parking, well, the
Yeah.
parking, yeah, we had to get fuel deliveries for the diesel generator, obviously, and there'll be occasional maintenance required on these generators, and that's all it's for. It's not gonna, we're not gonna go there on a daily basis, but the town did require that we have a fire lane, if we have to get emergency vehicles in there,
Yeah.
and so they were requiring the entrance and the parking.
Could I have your name and your...
I'm sorry, Robert Bocchino, I'm the engineering manager at the RVR.
Okay, so this area won't be used for parking, it'll be used for deliveries and for...
Deliveries and it's like occasional, we'll have somebody
Maintenance.
maintaining the
Access.
generator,
Maintaining.
for maintenance.
Does that count as parking lot or parking for the purposes of our zoning?
No. No, if
All
it's a
right.
driveway, driveways, can be up to the property and setbacks 5 foot, especially in a courtesy review. Like like you said, if they were parking spaces, I'd kind of wonder what the parking spaces are. But if you met with construction's subcodes, if they told them they had to do them, they were things that they would not be able to approve without. So I'd be worried as to say no to something that they necessarily need to approve. They
Right.
wouldn't have asked them to do it if it wasn't necessary.
Well, I'm just, I'm looking at the ARH, I should say, report, and they have a variance required for off-street parking.
So, RVR SA came back with a response to my letter indicating that it was not going to be used for parking, and as they just said, mostly for deliveries and maintenance. So I would be okay with, and as Jen said also, scaling.
Trying to
Yep.
dot the i's and cross the t's rather than crossing the i's and dotting the t's.
And so this 40-foot section of asphalt, which we won't call a parking lot or a driveway, is purely for deliveries and maintenance then?
Fuel truck to be able to get off the road and kind of.
Oh, I drive that road every day. I'd appreciate not being blocked by a fuel truck.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, any other questions by members? Mr. Mealy?
I assume that Green Bank Road will remain open throughout this project. It won't be affected in any way?
Well, when we spoke with the police department, they highly encouraged us to.
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry. To come up with a plan to detour around Greenbrook Road.
Green
Bank Road, I'm sorry. So that's the direction that we're heading in with. At one point, we thought we have some crossings of duck banks across Green Bank Road. And we thought that we could shut down one half of the one lane at a time, but we were told that we really ought to be looking at diverting the traffic totally around.
So you're going to work with the police and the town officials on making sure that this delivery of the new generators is done in a safe and effective way that minimizes the effect on traffic, or at least provides an alternate.
Yeah, I think we've developed a traffic control plan, and we'll share that with the police department prior to,
I'll plan accordingly.
Yes.
Yes. I'd rather make sure that my sewage gets taken care of.
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
Trade-offs, right?
All right.
Mr. Chairman, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Dedich.
Yeah, so you probably have the answer somewhere here, but let me just ask. So there won't be any personnel be there, like, during the day, like 9 to 5 kind of thing, or no?
No, it'll just be for periodic, inspections
okay.
and routine maintenance, and obviously fueling of the generator as needed,
Okay.
that type of thing.
So, and would you have night lights there, lighting around the?
There is some existing site lighting there, but on the enclosures themselves, we'll have exterior lighting. But generally, you're not planning to be doing any maintenance at night. It's gonna be during the daytime.
Again, yeah, not maintenance, but just for the visibility for, people moving around or on the road, yeah.
You're concerned about visibility of people driving, or?
Yeah, if too dark, somebody could just drive in, right? So, just from that perspective, yeah.
Well, we're not changing any of the, like the road conditions themselves, just that there'll be a fence that's offset from the road, but,
And bollards.
oh, for the fuel delivery trucks, bollards for safety.
Okay. And since there will be no personnel there, and again, you may have it here in this document, how are we preparing for the emergencies, right? Like, there are any automated, alarms or anything tied to, those kind of things? Something happens, right? How is that being taken care of?
Alarms would be,
Like something happens, right? Then what happens, right?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
the generators themselves are not in operation unless there's a power outage, and then,
Like, for example, a gas
RVRSA
leak.
staff would be alerted that, yes, there's a power outage and the generator is going to.
No, I'm worried more about, like, for example, gas leak, for example, right? So how is that being taken care of?
Well, the generator fuel storage tank will have leak detection as part of the, and like, as I mentioned, it is a double-walled tank.
Okay, so some sort of mechanism to detect the leak or whatever, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Other members of the board have questions of this witness on this, at this time? Mr. Canjiano, do you have any,
No.
all right?
Yes, my turn.
Yes.
All right, so we need to do a master plan consistency review as part of the application. Just to clarify, this treatment center doesn't actually service any of Parsippany sewage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when we review the master plan, it does not specifically say anything about non-township infrastructure. But it does talk about maintaining township infrastructure. It talks about working with state, county, and regional plans, and also coordinating those efforts for the improvements and health and safety of Parsippany's residents. So while we can't say that it is particularly specifically consistent with Parsippany's master plan, it is not inconsistent with the policies and recommendations therein. It is furthering the intent.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions.
No, I'm just trying to make sure that, because that's what we're going to find, is we're going to determine either that this is consistent with the Parsippany master plan or it's not consistent with the Parsippany master plan. I can't.
No, we're gonna find that it's not inconsistent.
Oh, there we go. You came up with a third way. And, I'm gonna ask, I assume this is your presentation at this time?
It is.
All right, I don't see a large gallery of people wishing to speak, but I am gonna ask if there's any members of the public who have either any questions or anything that they wish to say about this application at this time. Hearing and seeing none, I'm assuming that is your presentation for tonight.
It is my presentation.
So that closes the evidentiary portion of our hearing. Are there any comments from the board before we move on to a recommendation that we find this not inconsistent with the master plan?
I appreciate the review. I think it's important to know what's going on in our town, and this is in our town, and that's fine.
Any other members of the board have any comments on this? Do I hear a motion determining that this project is not inconsistent with our
Mr. Chairman.
master plan? Yes, Mr. Gigi.
Yeah, motion to approve or not inconsistent. Application 23:502, RVRSA 99 Green Bank Road, lots 493 and 494, lots 1 and 7. Courtesy review for replacement of emergency generators.
Second, Mealy.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Didich?
Yes.
Piero?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Math?
Yes.
Napolitano?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stanzio?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Von Aiken?
Yes.
Dinsmore?
Yes. And the result is we agree that your
Yes.
project is consistent with
Not-
our...
not
inconsistent.
Even though you're not
Thank you very
taking
much.
care of my sewage, you know, we're
Now,
good neighbors.
I do have an administrative question. Who is going to write up the resolution indicating that it is not inconsistent with the master plan? Since our,
It's just gonna be a letter.
It's
Nor's
something
I'm
on
gonna
it.
type.
it's just going to be a letter, okay.
And
That's-
once I have that letter, then you can submit to zoning for the permit.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very good. All right, so anybody willing to suggest that perhaps we end
Motion
our...
to adjourn.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, can move out.
Trying to throw them under the bus already?